Awesome. So you guys know which dungeon you want to play?
I do not, and I'm open to whatever anyone else wants to do. I really
Okay.
don't mind.
So I give you a rundown of both dungeons, and you guys can either throw a dart or make a choice based on that.
Sure.
Rich has his one that I know that he would like to run, but
Ha! I'm just along for the ride.
how comfortable are you guys playing the game?
Very.
Comfortable.
Barry? Oh, I know you are. Sorry. I said okay. We'll run normal and then just slow down.
Okay.
Slow down. So the two dungeons are the first dungeon is Earth and Root Enclave. This is an ancient communal place for the druids where they can commune with different aspects of nature in order to get an idea of what's going on in all over Tamriel. It's kind of like the druid internet. And what is happening there is one group of druids is attacking the people that are like the caretakers and everything. And that's unheard of in druid culture. Usually, even though druids have different ideas about how to interact with the outside world, they don't usually attack each other. So one group of druids attacking another is unheard of, and you're trying to figure out why that's happening and how to stop it. And then the second dungeon is, I saw you right here, Zino, right by this guy. This is Dulif. He is an ex-pirate who is now a member of the Mages Guild, and there's a section of the sea that is known to sink ships. So what he is doing is going to investigate that, find out why ships mysteriously sink out there, but also try to find the path that the Druid King took. And he thinks that it went through that part of the water, so we're going to go investigate. He can't find any captains to take him out there, so he's got his own little dinghy boat here, and he wants you to go with him to investigate. So, which one of those strikes your fancy?
I think it's painfully obvious.
Graven Deep?
Yeah, a little bit.
all right. We can do that.
I'm open. I don't mind. James can decide as well. I don't mind, but that does sound.
Well, I'm already going to Graven Deep. So stuck
there you go. YOLO.
Make sure I didn't put this on better.
No, it's on normal. You're fine.
Struggle bust through it for.
It'd be fine. We have Xynode.
Yeah, but
dead, remember?
We have Rich as a healer.
Yeah, you're all in trouble.
So this NPC right here is Dulif. I mentioned him. He's actually really cool. Like if you talk to him and kind of get his backstory and his dialogue and whatnot. Pretty cool guy. Like we do in dungeons, in between kind of things, we try to introduce characters that you're going to see possibly throughout the rest of the year. So this might be a guy you encounter throughout the rest of the year, but this gives you kind of like your first introduction to him. And you can see all the shipwrecks around here. This island is a bit of a mystery. Is that like they didn't know that this island existed? Is this just this part of the water was known to wreck ships and stuff? So we're gonna go figure out what's going on here.
Okay.
First up, and if you've played Hyle, you might recognize these guys. These are Hadalids, a new creature that we kind of introduced in Hyle. They're like a bug, semi-primitive kind of creature that operates in like small groups, but they can use weapons and stuff. But they're largely primitive. And these little guys, these are brand new. These are Pangrits. They're like little beasts of burden for the Hadalids.
Oh, there's the dude with the weapon.
Yeah, there's a guy with a weapon. And the first boss that we come to will also have what these the purpose of kind of this area is to teach you. I just got the mechanic right off the bat, but is to teach you a boss mechanic before it would kill you, before it would be super important. So you're going to somebody's going to get a little AOE underneath themselves called Bristle Pitch.
And then drop it on the ground?
If you drop it on this hole, instead of dropping it right where you get it, but if you drop it on this hole where the Pangrits come out of, then it'll stop the Pangrits from coming out.
Oh, cool. So you like plug in their little...
yeah, you like plug in their hole. Yep.
Don't
Xynode, have you not run any of these on PTS yet?
Of course
Not properly.
Not properly. Okay.
No, a little bit.
He has all the mechanics already documented.
Yeah.
I guarantee you.
Don't tell anyone.
So, no, I got it again. Another thing we like to do, particularly with dungeons lately, is introduce secrets or side content that players that want to go off the beaten path can explore. It gives a little bit more depth to the dungeon. You can kind of go off and figure out new stuff, which
Sure.
potentially is what is going on over here. We're not going to go over there and figure it out. That's for other people to explore, but I aggroed that guy. We will kill these guys.
I do like the introduction to a mechanic that not only do you have to drop, but you've got a timer on it as well, and you can control it with the synergy.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And those little ads there have massive conal AoEs.
They sure do. And it becomes particularly problematic in veteran, where things hurt a little bit more. It's kind of annoying and normal, but in veteran it definitely becomes problematic. We also force you to do essentially the mechanic in here. So when you get in here and start this fight, we definitely want to make sure that you understand the bristle pitch and dropping it on the correct holes and stuff like that. So we really force you to get it. So the boss won't even jump down until you've done that mechanic.
So kind of like it's on normal actually, but kind of like the spiders in Maelstrom, where you have to do the totems first before you understand what to do.
Right. So can jump over here. There you go. Good to go. And now he's going to jump down. This is the Euphotic Gatekeeper. He's a very mobile boss. He's going to jump around and scurry around and skitter around.
Ninja.
Yeah. Also in Veteran we have Undaunted Helms, masks, and shoulders. And we try to base that off of one of the monsters, usually the newer monster that's in the dungeon, if there is a newer monster in the dungeon, or one we haven't done before. And it's based off of this guy. So you get to wear his face as your face if you beat it better.
It's pretty cool. I'm going to stop hitting him for a bit and see more mechanics. There's a lot going on.
Yeah. There is. Like I said, he's very mobile, much more mobile than we have for some of the other bosses.
Yeah.
Which keeps kind of people on their toes. He'll come back to the tank every once in a while, but we also he has a lot of knockbacks and staggers and stuff like that. I do like he puts this little husk out and then kind of moves off to the side, which forces the tank to kind of reposition and readjust where he's at.
So it looks like the tank would have to use quite a lot of the outer side of the room just to turn him away, more than just holding him on the spot.
Yep.
Getting sweaty.
Is it? I think he's dead.
He's dead.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
So.
I've been looking around the room.
Yeah, there you go. Another thing is you notice it here, and I've actually explored the other parts of the island. You would have noticed these like Dwemer structures, which is the first hint that there's something else here, and it doesn't. It's kind of a mystery stuff. So Duluth says, "Hey, it looks like this is a dead end, but we can go in this little Dwemer hatch right here, Dwarven hatch."
So I assume the character had no idea that there'd be any Dwemer influence at all.
Correct. They didn't even know this island was here. So when you get to the island, Duluth is like, "What is this? This is a mystery. We know ships were sank out in this part of the water, but we didn't know this island was here." And then you see the Hadalids and stuff like that, and then you see Dwemer structures, and you're like, "What is this place?" So part of what he's trying to figure out is reading papers and stuff like that to figure out why is this giant Dwemer structure here and what was it used for. But we are underneath here, and you see the undead walking around. So the remnants of the people that sank in their ships and stuff, they're trapped down here. The Dwemer are long gone, but the remnants of the dead sailors and stuff like that are still living their lives down here, I guess.
Gotcha.
This also is related to kind of the secrets. You see these like little Dwemer eyeball thingies here.
Yep.
And if you do kind of the secrets in the side content, you can utilize those while you're fighting.
They're like the laser beam dudes in Frostfall.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, if you've seen that before, might give you a hint as to what you can actually do with them.
So
Nightmare fuel.
Yeah. So again, much like other dungeons, you've encouraged people to understand and pick up new mechanics, but also you've allowed them to see some familiar ones if they've done other stuff before.
For sure. Absolutely. Ghosties. So there are some, of course, ghosts here, zombies, waterlogged people. I'll walk over to that red area here. So like, the secrets, we call them secrets universally, but how secretive they are is really dependent on how much we want to kind of move it. So like you remember Black Drake Villa?
Sure.
That was really secretive. It wasn't even on the map. Stone Garden and even this dungeon, you could see some of these pathways kind of on the map here.
Okay,
so, like,
yeah, I see what you mean.
This would be like a secretive area here.
You hid those on Unhallowed Grave as well. You couldn't see anything.
Correct.
Laser beams.
Yep.
Nice.
That's one of the potential secrets that you would have to navigate here.
Are the secrets locked to prerequisites, or can you unlock them even if you missed the previous ones?
Yep, you can do them whatever. Like you guys just started that one, and we haven't done the first one. So yeah, there is no prerequisite for it. You get different things and different benefits for doing different secrets. But we wanted the goal with that is to kind of be like, hey, if maybe you missed the first secret and you didn't know that it was there, but then you see a second secret that's more obvious or something, or a second side passage, and you go, oh wait, did I miss others? And I encourage you to kind of go out and seek out all of them.
This feels a little bit, I'm going to say story and design-wise, not necessarily the layout or the visuals or anything, but the way that you've sectioned off the secrets and the fact that you're tunneling down to find stuff out is very similar to Unhallowed Grave with that whole treasure or mystery hunting style to it. For sure. And then, we get to the we're on the pathway to the second boss. This is kind of a tunnel that's a dugout here. Give Doolittle a little chance to explain what he sees and what's going on down here. Yeah. And as we tunnel through, we find the next boss. This is Varzunin. This dungeon ends up being probably, if you just run straight through, you don't do any of the side stuff. This one runs a little bit shorter than Earthroot Enclave, which is fine. We kind of we're okay with some shorter, some longer. Really up to what people want to do here. This guy has some unique mechanics in that he's going to spawn a bunch of undead around the room, and he'll then eat them, or they'll jump into him, and they make him a lot more powerful. Okay. So in normal, him getting more powerful isn't such a huge detriment, but in veteran, he can, or even hard mode, he can be pretty deadly as he gets powerful. So what the idea for the tank being is to reposition him so that wherever they spawn, because they'll spawn on the outsides of these rooms or outsides of these pillars. The idea being is, hey, let's move him away from those. So, but I'm going to hold him right in the middle because YOLO.
What's the?
So I think what I meant previously is this feels like more of an adventure. So go ahead, James.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, what's the challenge banner thing at the side?
So that is in veteran. If you do this dungeon in veteran mode, every boss has an activatable hard mode. Heal check.
I got this. I'm not
So
Jeremy.
every boss has an activatable hard mode, so he just got more powerful. You saw the little guy jump into him. And you have to do those in order. So if you want to do the third boss's hard mode, you'd have to do the previous two bosses' hard modes in order. If you want to do the second boss, you have to do the previous one boss.
That makes sense.
It's quite cool how you've incorporated the new mechanics and some previous recognizable visuals, if you like. So, from my perspective at least, the skeletons are very reminiscent of what you would know as blast bones.
Yeah, for sure.
And the room itself, obviously, you wanted to keep the Dwemer style, and this literally does look like one of the major rooms in the public dungeon in Morrowind.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very familiar, is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, for sure. And ultimately, we kind of we all play the game. So when we come into to do new dungeons and stuff like that, we are taking a look at what we've done before in the past and kind of ideas that we can use, which I'll explain a little bit more in a second as soon as we defeat this guy.
You want him dead?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So like I said, he has multiple ways. He keeps growing larger and larger. He gets pretty big after a while. And like I said, in Veteran, it's far more difficult than this, or even hard mode. You have to be kind of on your toes and moving around like that. So we're in this room. It's kind of blocked off, but Dulif has found another way. So let's head to the Transcender Chamber. And we have an elevator.
Beautiful. This is very Halls of Fabrication.
Oh, somebody hit the switch.
Not me.
bad.
Whee!
So
Well.
this is where we actually see what this Dwemer structure was used for. So we're falling all the way down to the bottom of the ocean floor. And you can see out the windows and stuff. We're on the floor of the sea here. And this is where I talked about we get inspiration from all over the place. There's actually, this was inspired by a house.
I thought as much.
Yeah, when we saw the house that they did, which is actually Argonian structures, not Dwemer, but when we saw the house, we were like, oh my gosh, we have to build a dungeon underwater like
The
that.
fish tank.
And if you go out here, you can actually see Dwemer structures off in the distance. That's actually where the final boss is that we're actually going to get to. And every once in a while, you'll see ghosts pop up on the glasses or sailors and stuff that have sank and are beating on the glass trying to get in. There's some really cool jellyfish out there, big fish. You'll see shipwrecks that have kind of fallen to the floor.
This is bonkers.
It's really
You don't normally see fish swimming.
yeah. Right.
You don't.
Yeah. As I said, we were able to do some just really cool stuff down here. And actually, those jellyfish are brand new. We just got those as well for down here because, you're not oftentimes going underwater where you would see that anyways. So this ghost is kind of relaxing, chilling on the bench here. The kind of kelp swaying and stuff. So yeah, we definitely hit it out of the park with the visuals on this stuff. It's just so
awesome,
cool to be on the bottom of the ocean floor and see some of the stuff. And we're going to change up the monsters a little bit. You're going to see in here. You're going to see ghosts now. These are much more malevolent spirits, kind of at the behest of Zelbrak the Unbreathing, who is the lich that's in charge of here. He's kind of set up his own mini kingdom down here, where he, as ships are sank and people float down to the bottom and die, he kind of takes over their souls and uses them for his own purpose.
More fish. You got a mud crab.
There's a much bigger crab coming up over here, living his best life on the bottom of the ocean here. What's funny is the secret in or the side content in this section that we had when we originally were doing it was much more prominent.
Yeah.
So to the point that everybody went down the side path, and we actually had to block it off quite a bit more so that we didn't just filter people down there and they get lost. But this is it over here. If you were to go down here, and you could find the side content down there.
Mm-hmm. Can you fish in there, or is that rain? No, that's rain.
Yeah, you can.
The little captain dude there was very similar to the secret boss in Shipwright's Regret.
Mm-hmm.
With his teleporty, jumpy around, lightning stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So this is the crab that's living on the bottom of the sea here. Coral crab.
Yep. They call it Ori.
Yeah. It's like, hey.
It's good to see them in the natural environment rather than just walking around up above the ocean.
For sure, for sure.
Don't crack the glass.
Yeah, it's like Jaws 3.
Yep.
There's Zelvac there breathing, talking to kind of his followers. Kind of his followers. Inadvertently his followers. No one have a choice.
Lots of interrupt mechanics as well. Nice.
Yep. The armor set in here is really cool. It's very kind of like sailory and stuff like that. You can't really see it on the ghosts. They're all wearing it, but if you get the drops in here and you kind of see how it all fits together and stuff, it's really cool. We've come to another dead end, but Duliv has a plan for us to get out. This is another one of those just cool elements that we were just able to add. We actually were walking down on the ocean floor in a bubble.
This is a very clever way of getting around water combat.
Yeah.
Let me tell you how many discussions we had.
Yeah.
I can well believe it, especially for people that have played MMOs for a very long time.
It was funny when we were originally pitching this and talking to Rich and Jerry about it. And we're like, all right, so we got this thing. You're going to go underwater, and he's, what do you mean underwater? You're not doing underwater combat.
Yeah.
No, we're not doing
effing way. And then they convinced me it would be cool.
Yeah. And this was just one of those kind of side things that, as designers, we like to just try things. And this is the team absolutely were like, hey, we have this cool idea, because we already had the idea of going down, in through here into the like kind of essentially fish tank and stuff like that. And they were like, hey, what if you walk on the ocean floor? And we're like, well, let's see what we could do here. And they prototyped this out, and I was like, this is cool. And that was when we put it in front of like Rich and Jeremy. We're like, just hear us out.
Such an awesome result to problem solving.
Yes, it's fantastic, and you can we limit where you can explore. You can't walk all over Tamriel, of course.
Yeah.
And we very much limit where you can explore down here, but giving you kind of that freedom to walk out and see like on the ocean floor is really, really cool.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome, to be fair. I have a question you're not allowed to answer, and it's an obvious one.
Uh-huh.
Should I ask it anyway?
Go for it.
Are you planning on doing this anywhere else?
Planning on doing what anywhere else?
That water walking stuff in the overland or other content later.
I mean, there's no.
Who knows?
It's like
I know how leading that question is.
A lot of times, a lot of the innovation and stuff like that will just come from designers being given the kind of the freedom to be able to like, hey, I'm going to try this and stuff like this. Another good example of this is in High Owl, the moving ships and stuff like that. That was just one of the encounter designers, Owen, just putting that together and saying, let me see how this will fit and how this works and stuff like that. And then we put it through there and stuff like that. And now that becomes a toolbox that the designers have.
Yeah, of course.
So it's not to say, oh, we definitely have plans to do this in the future, but it now becomes a tool that people can look at and say, this has been done before. Could it be incorporated? And potentially.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah. So this is Zelvac the Unbreathing. He's got this drowned abomination that we're going to have to deal with first before we deal with him. He has a lot of new and interesting mechanics as well. There's an entire volleyball type mechanic that we're going to have to deal with. Basically, he summons this bubble, and if it hits the ground, it doesn't kill you in normal. In veteran, it absolutely will kill the entire group if you let the bubble hit the ground.
Okay.
But in normal, it will do a lot of damage, so we should definitely pay attention to it and not let it hit the ground if we can.
Sure.
He also has the same fearing mechanic. This is one of those interesting ones of if you...
Oh, you can't break it.
You can't, but you can prevent it from happening. So basically, he's going to... There's the bubble.
I got it.
He puts a thing over your head, and it's like a little skull. And if you're looking at him when he does it, you'll be feared. But if you turn away from him, you're not.
Okay.
Let me go get my soul back here.
Yeah, mine. I think I got mine.
The marker again that was in Coral Area as well.
Yeah. We wanted to create that as a. So in this phase, what you're doing is you're running around and you're there's these little souls. If you look outside the window, there's souls that are kind of swimming in.
Yep.
And they will then try to make their way to the boss. But if you collect these little ghosts that are around, you can get healed. Because right now you're just kind of taking damage all the time. And the goal is to prevent these souls from reaching the boss. But then there's little ghosts that are out here as well that will heal you up.
That's kind of cool.
It's kind of new. We haven't really done that before.
It's very unique putting people all out on their own to do individual mechanics like this.
All right, we're back. And we
Because
have
usually
flesh
stuff like
colossus.
that, especially trials, you tend to section off like 2, 3, or 4 people.
Right.
Whereas in here, you all got your own weight.
And there's certain considerations we have to make. So when you section people off, you got to make sure that you're not creating a situation where it's a DPS race and classes aren't geared for DPS.
Yeah, or a tank.
So
gets
for
stuff not getting
instance,
any-
so like it's like tanks and healers aren't put in a situation. So that is a very simplistic kind of way to do it. In other words, you're going to those little souls are just one shots. You're not forced to heal yourself. You can collect the ghosts, and that's what heals you.
Bad.
So, did we just get hit by the ball? Yeah. So in normal, it doesn't really kill you. And that is Zelvrak the Unbreathing. Dulev portal's in here. He's going to walk forward, and you can actually finish the quest and get some information from him.
I do actually like the fact that you have utilized a previous model, i.e. the Lich. But you've completely changed people's perspective of it, because generally speaking, most Liches that you go up against, it's crystals on the floor, stand in the gaps, job done.
Correct.
And still, even though it's a bit heavier than that, to somewhat Kalurian's very similar to that as well. But this dude is completely bonkers.
Right.
Like, you wouldn't expect to see that.
Part of what we try to do whenever we approach using old monsters and stuff like that is to do that, is to play up a new mechanic and to change things up as much as possible, especially when it makes sense, especially for something like a final boss.
Sure.
So the first step is going to be evaluating kind of like, hey, what can this boss do? That kind of stuff.
There's quite a lot of mechanics towards it, though. That particular phase where we went and ran around and picked up all the ghosts and stuff, how is that in Vet in comparison to normal? I mean, does it happen multiple times? Is it on health percentages? Is it just the once?
Player testable.
I was going to say, that sounds player testable.
Why can't you tell the audience the answer to that? I'll tell them later. But no, I like it. I like the fact that, I mean, if that just had basic Lich stuff, obviously that wouldn't be that exciting, but the whole flip around on the mechanics, especially the solo side of things, it's actually pretty cool. It almost feels like a trial boss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I really like that. Like I said, the mechanic where you kind of go around and you have to hit the little spirits that are coming in and collect ghosts to heal yourself and stuff. It becomes a different type of game. It's not going to be related to how much DPS you can do or any of that stuff. So it's very much a can I go around and do these things and have these things on my bar, and how many can we prevent from getting to the Lich and stuff like that. And it's very individualist at that point.
It feels like a mechanical awareness situation rather than bring the deeps or nothing.
And it's not an instant wipe situation. If you don't do it right, it's not like everybody's like, oh, well, everybody's going to die. It's more along the lines of like, you're going to make this fight harder if you don't do it.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Can I ask how long you toyed over the water idea? The walking in water.
Which water idea? The walking in the water?
Yeah.
I mean, that was probably
I know people have been asking.
It's one of those things that comes together over a course of a few days, and then we put in a prototype, which is pretty rough, but it gets us kind of the gist of what we want to do, and then we have to put it in front of people for approval, because that's ultimately what it comes down to. It's such a new mechanic, and it's such something different that we've done that we don't want to spend FX time and animation time and a ton of design time on it until we know, hey, this is in a pretty good spot, and we can evaluate it, and then everybody goes, yeah, you know what, let's do it. So it's going to be a couple days, but we dedicated the effects and animation time needed to kind of do it once we got a prototype in.
Yeah,
we were pretty robust prototype phase that we could do that. What's that?
You have the cool particle effects as well when you swap bars.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool,
For
man.
sure.
I've got to admit, even myself, and I know hundreds of people in the community have always asked about underwater combat, and it's been one of two different things. Like, people either want it or they really think it's going to be terrible. And sure, we don't really fight stuff underwater here, but the way that you have incorporated any form of maneuverability inside the water, that's interesting, to say the least. And it will definitely make people's brains tick as to what's next if
for sure.
it was to be used. And you introduce a snare to it as well to add a little bit of realism to it.
Yeah, and that's part of we wanted to give you the whole kind of feeling of really being walking on the bottom of on the bottom of the water and stuff. So
I can't even talk about the secrets because we didn't show them.
Well, do you have questions about? I mean, I'm sure you've run them.
I do have questions because then the audience can hear it.
Mike's just going to say sounds player testable.
He is going to do that because you've taught him very well. That's what that is. Mike has his own mind and he can be sarcastic at times, but you've got that player testable line stuck in Zos's head now. Every time anyone asks a question, player testable, it's like, really? I want to do it. Tell me. But no, it's cool. How unique in comparison to the Red Petal Bastion buffs, for example, are they? Or are they simply stat bonuses?
So there's a couple. I'll give you the mentality that we have for some of these things. There's a couple ways that we can look at those. Sometimes a stat buff is enough, and sometimes we take a look at it and we go, yeah, stat buff is cool, but we also want to do a little bit different. Coral Area is a good example of having the design time and the resource time to be able to say, you know what, let's make these a little bit different. This is another good example too of, yes, there's going to be stats and stuff like that, but also there's ways you can interact with the environment if you do the secrets.
Gotcha. That
you potentially couldn't do in other places. So it really comes down to a matter of when we're designing this and when we're developing this, if we have the resources, or if we have and we can dedicate the resources towards making those a bit more punchy. That's really what it comes down to. It's not a matter of everyone's going to take a different idea and how much we can kind of throw into the side.
Okay. I have one more question, then James can take it if you want. This is not meant to be leading. This is more of a curiosity thing based on what I can see. So how do you feel as a development team that you've come along the way when it comes to developing new mechanics? As an example, from my perspective, it seems that each time you release a new DLC for dungeons, you do incorporate the basics, but you have dramatically improved or increased on the very unique mechanics in comparison to the early game, if you know what I mean. Like, there's a lot more new stuff to see each time. So do you feel like that's a positive, and do you feel like you've obviously grown as a team because of stuff like that?
Yeah, it ultimately, like, the team, this is all the designers that are on the team. 100%, this is giving them kind of our design mentality of giving them kind of free reign and then scoping back essentially if depending on resources that we have allocated and stuff like that. And they are always wanting to challenge themselves. A lot of times we actually have to dial it back a lot of times and say, hey, I get it, but like we have to look at time that it takes to do this kind of stuff. Because if you see the stuff that when they originally pitched it, there's everything in the kitchen sink in here, and I'm like, hey, this is a pretty cool mechanic. These probably overlap a little bit. Let's dial it back, save that for a new thing and stuff. So there's this like internal backlog of mechanics that people wanted to do that they haven't really dedicated the time to, and they just go to that well, you know, every time we do a new boss or something like that. And each designer is completely different in how they're going to approach things. Sometimes designers will look and say, I want the complete backstory behind this particular boss and how it works. Some people are like, I have this really idea for a cool mechanic to get players to do, you know, cool new things, and I want to see how that fits into this kind of thing. So it's 100% the designers. I do think that they always challenge themselves to come up with new cool things. So absolutely, and the team, but we add people periodically to the team. We just had, I mean, not too long ago, we just added another new person to the team and they've come in with their own ideas for how to do things and new mechanics and stuff like that. So I will say that I can't put enough emphasis on how awesome the dungeon the designers are on the team, and they're the ones who are driving kind of all these cool, crazy new designs.
Yeah, it does feel a lot more ballsy the more you progress. Like you're exploring a lot more unique ideas, and it feels like some of the dungeons, while still accessible to everyone, regardless of difficulty, it feels more involving for your players or your characters, as opposed to the original, here's a boss, hit it, and then move on.
Right.
So it's definitely, in my opinion, come a long way.
Part of that is the questions we ask too during development, and during, you know, play tests and stuff like that. Is part of that is the approach of, you know, okay, how are we challenging the different roles? How are we challenging the different players? What is the tank doing in here? What does he do? And it's just the approach from play testing. We sit down and we play a boss and we defeat it or something. We're like, Hank, did you feel challenged in this? Where did you see your threats for? What was challenging to you? And that doesn't necessarily mean like my health was low all the time. It's also a matter of, you know, I had to move this boss here and I had to do this here and this guy was doing this. So healer, were you challenged? Yes. Well, single target healing was this and that kind of stuff. You know, range DPS, were you challenged? Melee DPS. So it's very much a situation of asking the right questions to as we're playing and as we're playtesting to grok and get down on the, you know, make sure everybody's challenged and everybody is kind of feeling that the fight was for them.
That's pretty awesome, man. James, I'll let you continue because I've spoken enough.
Oh no, I think you've covered everything. It's all good.
I didn't hear.
I've turned him up.
Oh no, it's just I think you've covered everything. Yeah.
I spoke too much, didn't I?
No.
Alrighty. Well, that is Graven Deep. Like I said, the other, like you're going to, if you went through here with Doolittle and stuff, you'll recognize him potentially later on in the year. And the other dungeon, we introduce you to another character, which is Druid Laurel. She's a member of the Stone Lord, which you might remember as a druid group in High Isle. They're very open to kind of outside people, talking to them and discussing the nature of druids with them. And they're in Earth and Root Enclave. They're being attacked by the Fire Song, which is another group of druids who is much more reclusive, much more secluded, and does not like the outside influence. So why they're attacking, why the Fire Song are attacking, and how you're going to repel that attack is very much at the heart of what Earth and Root is about. But Druid Laurel is another character that you will probably see later on in the year too.
Okay.
As well as the Fire Song, for sure.
No spoilers though.
No spoilers.
Damn it.
So that's all we got for today.
Well, thank you very much. Much appreciated. Good to get some insight as to where this started and where it is now. And well, hopefully the players like it. I'm sure they do.
Yes.
But I'm going to
Certainly always a pleasure playing with you all.
You
It
too.
is very much a pleasure. Yep.
You too.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thanks.